Hey everybody, it's Angela and I am back with another layout today. And this is I'm going to be using the Farmer's Market collection by We Are Memory Keepers, and it's an older paper collection that I've had in my stash, and I have several of these in the plastic boxes by We Are Memory Keepers. I think I have the Inked Rose and like Country Life or something like that, and I really love them. They give you like four sheets of each paper, so if you want to do mini albums and things like that, you've got plenty to use and to cut into. There's not a lot of extras that come in the pack, just stickers, and I have a few like die cut tags and a wooden tag. And so I don't wind up using any of those. I actually pulled, you can see in the upper right hand corner, those Recollections flowers that I thought went really well with this. And so I just went ahead and took this kind of peachy gingham and I put it on like the bottom half of my paper. I used the wood grain at the top and then a piece of the peach cardstock that comes in the paper collection as well. And now I've taken a piece of the kind of dusty blue paper and another orange paper out of the same collection pack. And I'm just matting my photo a couple times. And this is a photo of my mom that I have wanted to scrapbook for a while. I just love the casual nature of this. And I don't have a ton of photos of her during this time. So I really wanted to scrapbook it. And the flowers, the Recollections flowers, have there's especially a dusky blue one with some peachy orange colored flowers on it that I thought was really pretty. And so at first I'm going to use all of them except maybe the pink. And then I wind up like removing, I think the teal ones I took out and just kept the kind of cornflower blue. And then I took out the cream colored ones, were just too yellowish up against the white of the background paper. So I wind up not using quite as many of these flowers as I had originally anticipated. But that's okay, you're just kind of using stuff out of your stash. You're not, it's not a contest to use up a whole pack or anything like that. So, but that's the only thing I kind of had in mind, was to put my picture kind of in an angle and put the flowers around it. Now this is a punch out sheet and it's a Teresa Collins. I think it's like the He Said, She Said. I can't remember right off the top of my head. It's another oldie from my stash. And I took out that little piece that says "You Are So Beautiful" and it has kind of a peachy color border on the top and bottom. And then I also thought I might use this banner that's on there, but the colors just don't quite work right. The other blues and stuff that they have in the Teresa Collins punch out sheet. I don't think I have any more of this collection, or maybe I do, but I just have this extra punch out sheet for some reason. It has just been kind of floating around, so I grabbed it. So since not much out of that would work, I thought, well, let me go back to the Farmer's Market collection. And you can see I have those hang taggy things and the sticker sheet, but really there wasn't anything in those I wanted either. So what I do when I just can't find stuff that works is I just use the paper collection and my dies, because I have some really cool dies that I just really love and that are in my collection. And so I have fun just pulling them out and doing that. I have lots of flowers and bows and tabs, and I also have some kind of doily shapes which reminded me to pull out a doily. So I went ahead and just pulled out one of my existing doilies out of my stash to put behind the picture. And so I'm just going to kind of make a little cluster of flowers on the left and bottom of this photo, and then another smaller cluster over there on the right. Just like that. That's all I've kind of have in my mind at this point. And that's pretty much how it stays, actually. So I'm just going through, I picked out a bunch of dies and I'm bringing over my Big Shot and my scraps. After I matted my photos, I want to cut all these scraps and use them to make my die cuts. And that way I know I'll have a bunch of things that coordinate perfectly. So I just pull over my Big Shot, and I think I cut this out here so that you guys don't have to watch me cut these out, but you just lay your dies on the cutting platform, make your sandwich. And I have a bunch of flower dies that I love that are all connected, and I just leave them connected because it's great to just cut them all out at once. And then I have that bow I'm sticking on there and that little branch. And I'm just going to go ahead and start running these through and taking them out of the dies. So after I get all my pieces cut out, you can see I have a bunch of bows. I haven't quite assembled them yet, but I've got them all cut out over there on the right. And I have one flower that is kind of a little bit larger that I'm going to place some of the Recollections flowers on top of the die cut flower and kind of layer them. So that works good. I kind of put that peachy one on top of one of those kind of cornflower blue types of flowers. And I decided I needed another one of these. I'm sorry I didn't cut this out, but I just popped that one out. You can see I'm going to put another flower on top of that and use that like a base. And at first I went back and forth as to whether to use the dark orange. I really love the light peach, and so at one point I take all the dark orange off because I thought it might be just a little bit too much, and it just looked dull without those pops of bright orange. And another thing is that even though this photo is in black and white, my mom's blouse that she has on, I remember that blouse. And I know that the pattern on that has like oranges and browns, because this would have been in like around 1973, I think, that this photo was taken. So the orange just really kind of speaks to me. And also those Recollections flowers that have the floral print paper, the kind of cornflower blue with the orange flowers on them, reminds me of a little, like, it was like a Little House on the Prairie dress type of thing that I had growing up that was made with a very similar pattern and color of fabric. So both of those things just really remind me of the 70s and the time and place. So you know what, I thought just go with it, because it's the story I'm trying to tell. You know, it's my mom, it's the blouse she's wearing, it's the era the photo was taken, it's the things that I remember. And so I thought, you know what, just go with what looks right to me and it'll be fine. So I was trying not to overthink it. So here I am just punching out more of the dies, and it did take me a little bit of time because I did make quite a few flowers and bows and things like that, but I think the layering of all those just really gives it a nice texture. And you can see at this point I took those kind of cream flowers, the cream Recollection flowers off, and the teal ones off, and now I'm just really starting to go with that kind of cornflower blue. The back of the cornflower paper has some mason jars on it that's in teal, and I do use some of that teal side of that same paper. I flip it over and use the flowers with the teal color, just for a couple of them, just so it doesn't get too stuck in the orange and blue. I wanted a few variations on those colors. So you can see I hemmed and hawed a little bit, just trying to, figure out my placement. And again, I'm taking those branches, I'm just kind of pulling them apart, making some smaller sprigs in there, and just kind of spreading out those colors. And I have some little orange sprigs that I made as well. And the back of that dark orange paper has the light orange that I used to matte the photo, so I use some of that as well. Now I go ahead and I start to assemble this bow, but then it looks kind of a little bit too big for what I was going for. That's a new bow die that I hadn't used before, and so I wasn't quite sure, how it would be. So instead I go with this one, which is really cute. It's like a little string bow, and you cut out the back bow, and then it gives you a bunch of the little smaller pieces to layer on top of it, and it gives it a fuller look when you fluff them up. So I decided to go with the string bow instead. And now what am I doing now? I'm sorry guys, I should have cut more of this out for you. Oh, I went ahead and took that same peach that I used as my border strip between my wood grain paper and the orange gingham, and I cut a few in that peach cardstock just so that I could layer that kind of behind. That's when I was thinking about doing away with the dark orange totally and just using the peach, and instead I did decide to put more of that dark orange in there. And gee, now I'm looking on my phone. Guys, I'm sorry, I should have edited more of this out, but thank you for suffering through this with me. So anyhow, I finally kind of figured out how this is kind of how it's going to be. So I go ahead and sweep it all off and start to glue it down. And I'm just using my hot glue gun to put these back on. And I've already, I think, kind of glued the layers of flowers together. And now I'm just going ahead and positioning the bigger ones down first, and then I'll stick some of the smaller ones in around the cluster. So I decided to move that sentiment, "You are so beautiful," instead of having it to the right hand side of the photo, I decided to put it up on top. And that's pretty much going to be my title, because this is just, I only have this one photo, and there's not a series of photos in this photo shoot. So besides putting the title Mom or something like that, I didn't really have a story to go with this. It's just a lovely photo of her. And I might do some journaling on the back, just about the time frame that this was and some things that I remember and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't really have any journaling or a title per se that I wanted to include on the front. So now I am just going ahead and filling in all these flowers. And I have that one gap, and I decide to put a butterfly. So I used, this was a butterfly punch. I think it's a Martha Stewart butterfly punch. And I have 3 different colors I could use, or 4, because I have 2 butterflies, and then there's either side of the butterfly has a different paper color. And I decided to go with the cornflower blue. And then at first I think about doing away with that secondary cluster and just moving it in tight around the photo, but I do like having that second cluster just separated a little bit and just kind of pulling those colors across the page. So I want to go ahead and include a couple of the little fronds in there and kind of represent all the different colors that I'm using. Then I also have some little tiny Martha Stewart butterflies, and I go ahead and sprinkle some of those around. And then I decide to put the bow right in the center there, but it needed a little bit of something underneath it to fill in that gap first. So I go ahead and I just pick a couple of these smaller flowers. It's kind of a tealy one, a peach one, and then I go ahead and kind of place my bow down there. Again, I checked that other bow and it was just a little bit too big, so I do want to go with this kind of string bow. So I go ahead and place that kind of at the center bottom. And then here are some of those little tiny Martha Stewart butterflies. What I did was, after I cut out all my big flowers, any of the scraps where there was an extra space where I could punch a few butterflies out, I did that. And all these extras that I don't use, all these extra die cuts that I made, if they don't wind up getting used on this layout, what I do is I gather them all up. I'll assemble the bows I didn't use. I'll gather all those up, put them in a little baggie, and I will put them in my Farmer's Market collection pack. So that way I have some extra ready-made die cuts that I can use the next time I go to make another layout with that collection. So now I want to add a little bit different texture to the layout, so I'm going to pull out a few enamel dots. That one I kind of like the teal color. This one I kind of like the orange. Just kind of going through here. And I pull out these Project Life ones because I love the kind of peachy color ones they have on there. I think I wind up using just 2 of these because they were a little bit bigger. And I had some smaller flowers that I needed some flower centers in. And they're not very sticky either, so I do have to wind up going back and using some glue to hold those down. And this one, I don't know what the problem was. I couldn't get it out, so I had to yank the whole plastic package off. But I love the orange, the pops of orange. So just in any of the little spots, any of the flowers or butterflies or bows that didn't have a center on them, I went ahead and included those. So I'm loving that. But yeah, like I said, especially those Project Life ones weren't sticky. So I went ahead and used the hot glue on them. So at this point I wasn't sure quite what to do. Since I didn't want to do my journaling on the front, I thought I'd pull out some word fragments and go ahead and put some of those on there. And I pull out these Tim Holtz ones in white, but the only collection I have of these are the occasions stickers of his, and they're kind of all different occasions. So I didn't, you know, Christmas, Halloween stuff. I couldn't find a lot that would work. So yeah, I know he has another collection of those, but I don't have those. So I went with these Maggie Holmes kind of gold colored ones, and my camera battery died, so it's jumped ahead here. All I did was put the gold word fragments on there and use some gold Heidi Swap Color Shine sprinkles, and then I called it done. And I just really love the way it turned out. The colors just remind me of the 70s, and yeah, I love the little touch of gold on there, and the Recollections flowers are so pretty, and they work really well with this We Are Memory Keepers collection. So I just love all the different dimension. And I'm so glad I was able to, you know, scrap this photo of my mom. And like I said, I might do some hidden journaling on the back, just kind of talking about the time in general. So thank you guys so much for watching and putting up with my poor editing skills on this. Sorry guys. If you have any questions or anything, just leave me a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye.